The contract and the consequences. The diamond on my left hand was a perfect, brilliant half carat, but it felt as heavy and cold as a block of ice. I twisted it around my finger, a nervous habit I'd developed over the last 3 months. Across the small table at our favorite coffee shop, Liam smiled, his expression a masterful blend of affection and excitement. To anyone watching, we were the picture of a happy, newly engaged couple. But the truth was, we were co-conspirators in a beautifully crafted lie. "You're doing it again," Liam said softly, reaching across to still my fidgeting hand. His touch was warm, familiar, but entirely platonic. "Relax, Sarah, the immigration officer isn't going to be scrutinizing your knuckles. They'll be looking at us. And we've got that part down perfectly." He was right, we had practiced our story for months. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party 6 months ago. He loved my passion for restoring vintage furniture, I adored his dedication to his graphic design career. Our first date was at this very coffee shop. We'd even scattered mementos around our apartments, framed photos from a day trip to the coast, ticket stubs from concerts we'd never attended. The narrative was airtight, the real story was far less romantic. Liam was my best friend from college. He was brilliant, funny, and from Ireland. His student visa was rapidly expiring. A coveted job at a top-tier design firm in Chicago was his dream, but it was dangling just out of reach without a work visa. One night, over a bottle of wine and a mountain of anxiety, he jokingly said, "Well, I could always marry an American." The joke hung in the air, and then we both looked at each other, the unthinkable suddenly seeming like a logical, if insane, solution. It was a business arrangement, a contract. He would cover all the legal fees and my living expenses for the 2 years it would take to get his conditional green card. I would provide the status. We drew up a simple, unsigned agreement on a napkin. Operation Green Card, we called it. We were so clever, so sure we could outsmart the system. "I still can't believe we're doing this," I whispered, taking a sip of my latte. "It's going to be fine," Liam assured me, his confidence unwavering. 2 years, Sarah, that's all. Then we get a nice, clean divorce, and I'll be forever in your debt. You're saving my life. The wedding was a small, civil ceremony with 2 of our most discreet friends as witnesses. I wore a simple cream-colored dress. He wore a suit he'd owned for years. We exchanged rings and vows we didn't mean, and when the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Liam gave me a quick, chaste peck on the cheek. Our friends cheered, thinking we were being adorably shy. The whole charade felt like a surreal play. Life as marrieds was strangely domestic. We lived in my 2-bedroom apartment, meticulously maintaining the facade. We had joint bank accounts for show, filled with his money. We attended family barbecues and work parties together, laughing a little too loudly and holding hands a little too tightly. We were performers, and the world was our audience. The cracks began to show about a year in. The pressure was immense. The constant lying was exhausting. I started dating a wonderful man named David, a high school teacher I'd met at the library. He was kind, grounded, and real. Every time I had to lie to him about my living situation, a piece of my soul chipped away. I'd tell him I was living with a roommate, which was technically true, but the omission felt like a boulder on my chest. Liam, too, was feeling the strain. He became more withdrawn, spending long hours at the office or locked in his room. The easy friendship that was the foundation of our plan began to fray under the weight of the deception. We started having petty arguments about dishes, about groceries, about nothing at all. The apartment, once my sanctuary, became a tense, silent stage. The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday evening. I was in the living room, sketching a design for a client, when Liam came home, his face pale and grim. "We need to talk, Sarah," he said, his voice low and serious. He didn't sit down. A cold dread trickled down my spine. "What's wrong? Is it the immigration case?" "No, it's David." My blood ran cold. "What about him? I know you've been getting serious. I saw you two at the farmer's market on Saturday. You looked really happy." His voice was flat, devoid of its usual warmth. "This was never part of the deal, Sarah. This was supposed to be clean. No entanglements." "It's not an entanglement," I protested, my voice rising. "He doesn't know anything. I've been careful. Have you?" Liam's eyes were hard. "What happens when he wants to come over? When he proposes? This lie is a house of cards, and your little romance is a gust of wind. You're jeopardizing everything I've worked for. My entire future is on the line. My future is on the line, too." I shot back, tears stinging my eyes. "I have a right to have a real life, Liam. This isn't a real marriage." "You're right, it's not," he said coldly. "It's a legal contract, and you're violating the spirit of it by bringing a third party into our mess. It ends now, or I'll end it for you." The argument escalated, fueled by a year of repressed stress and fear. Harsh words were exchanged, words about trust, betrayal, and the ugliness of our situation. I accused him of being controlling. He accused me of being reckless. It was the first time I felt truly afraid of my best friend. The final blow came 2 weeks later. I came home from a date with David to find a large cardboard box sitting in the middle of the living room. My things were haphazardly thrown into it. Liam emerged from his room, his expression a mask of resolved finality. I want you to leave, Sarah. What? You can't be serious. This is my apartment. It's our marital home, according to the lease, he said, his voice chillingly calm. And I'm asking you to leave. I've already spoken to the landlord. I'll be covering the rent alone from now on. I was stunned, my mind reeling. Liam, you can't do this. Where will I go? This is insane. You should have thought about that before you decided to play house with David, he replied. This arrangement is no longer tenable. I need to protect myself. Get out. The eviction was brutal and swift. Humiliated and heartbroken, I packed a suitcase with whatever else I could fit and left. I ended things with David over the phone, giving him a vague, tearful story about family issues and needing space. It was the most painful phone call of my life. I moved into a cramped, temporary sublet, my life reduced to a single room and a heart full of shattered glass. The weight of my betrayal, to the government, to David, and to myself, crushed me. For weeks, I was adrift in a fog of anger and self-pity. How could Liam do this to me? After everything I had done for him, I was the victim of his cold-hearted pragmatism. I clung to that narrative, using it as a shield against my own guilt. The shock that truly broke me, however, came from an unexpected source. Bitter and seeking some form of recourse, I went to see a lawyer. I laid out the entire sordid story, omitting nothing. I expected her to be sympathetic, to talk about my tenant rights or the verbal contract we had. She listened patiently, taking notes. When I finished, she set her pen down and looked at me with a mix of pity and severity. Sarah, she began gently, what you're describing is immigration fraud. It's a federal crime. The penalties can include massive fines and up to 5 years in prison for both of you. The air left my lungs. The room seemed to spin. Prison. The word echoed in my mind, hollowing me out. But, he kicked me out, I stammered, as if that were a defense. It doesn't matter, she said. The moment you signed that marriage certificate with the intent to circumvent immigration law, you became criminally liable. If you were to go to the authorities now, you would be implicating yourself just as much as him. I left the lawyer's office a different person. The anger I felt toward Liam was now dwarfed by a towering, terrifying fear. And in the quiet terror of that realization, my perspective shifted. I wasn't just a victim of Liam's betrayal. I was an active participant in a crime. My self-righteous anger melted away, replaced by a profound and shameful understanding of my own culpability. We had done this together. It took another month for the shame to settle into something resembling clarity. I was sitting in my dismal sublet, looking at a photo of Liam and me from college, back when our friendship was pure and simple. We were laughing, our arms slung around each other's shoulders. The grief for that lost friendship hit me harder than the fear of prison or the pain of my eviction. Swallowing my pride was the most difficult thing I had ever done. My hand trembled as I typed the text message. We need to talk, not to fight. The coffee shop, tomorrow, 10 a.m. He replied an hour later. A simple, okay. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at the same table where we'd planned our deception. He looked tired, older. The confidence was gone, replaced by a weariness that broke my heart. I sat down, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. I saw a lawyer, I said quietly. He flinched, his eyes widening in panic. It's okay, I said quickly. I'm not going to do anything. She explained everything to me. About the fraud, the prison time. The relief on his face was palpable, followed quickly by a deep shame. He looked down at his coffee. I'm sorry, Sarah, for kicking you out. It was a terrible, panicked thing to do. I was so scared. I know, I whispered. I was, too, but I'm not scared of you anymore. I'm scared of what we did. I took a deep, shuddering breath. I was so angry at you, Liam. I blamed you for everything. But the lawyer made me see, I'm just as much to blame. We made this mess together. We lied together, and we're the only two people who can get each other out of it. Tears welled in his eyes. It was the first time I had seen him cry since his father passed away years ago. I'm so sorry, he repeated, his voice thick with emotion. I lost my best friend. I became someone I didn't recognize. This wasn't worth it. We talked for 2 hours that day. We cried. We apologized. We laid all our fears and failures on the table. The performative affection was gone, replaced by the raw, painful honesty of two people who had hit rock bottom together. We decided to see a therapist, separately and then together, to navigate the impossible situation we had created. We had to see the immigration process through, living with the constant anxiety of an interview, knowing our every word would be a lie. It was our bed, and we had to lie in it. The journey of rebuilding trust was slow and painful. But as we worked through our guilt and fear in therapy, a strange thing happened. The foundation of our friendship, which had been buried under the lies, began to resurface. It was scarred and battered, but it was there. The immigration interview was the most terrifying day of our lives. We held hands under the table, not for show, but for genuine support. We told our rehearsed story, our voices steady, our eyes meeting with a shared, desperate prayer. The officer, a stern-faced woman, scrutinized our documents and our photos. It felt like an eternity. Finally, she stamped a pile of papers. Everything appears to be in order. You will receive the conditional green card in the mail. We walked out of the building into the blinding sunlight, both of us trembling. We didn't speak. We just stood there on the sidewalk, two accomplices who had narrowly escaped a disaster of their own making. The divorce, when the 2-year conditional period was over, was a quiet, amicable affair. There was no fight over assets. There was only a profound, shared sadness for the beautiful friendship we had nearly destroyed. On the day the divorce was finalized, Liam came over to my new, small apartment, a place that was wholly mine. I made his coffee. So, he said, holding up his mug. To freedom, to the truth, I added softly. We clinked our mugs together. What now? He asked. Now, I said, we try to be better people. We live honest lives. Liam got his permanent status. I started my own small furniture restoration business, building something real with my own 2 hands. I even found the courage to reach out to David and tell him the whole, ugly truth. He didn't take me back. The lie was too big, but he listened, and his forgiveness was a balm on my wounded spirit. Liam and I never got back the easy friendship of our college years. That was a casualty of our choices. But what we built in its place was something deeper, forged in the fires of mutual failure and forgiveness. We had seen the worst in each other and had chosen, painstakingly, to find our way back to a place of respect. The diamond ring was long gone, sold to help fund my new start. The weight was finally gone from my finger, and more importantly, from my soul. The contract was void, but the hard-learned lesson was permanent. No dream, no matter how desperate, is worth the cost of your integrity. And sometimes, the most shocking truth isn't about a betrayal by another, but the one you commit against yourself.